Welcome back, everybody. Today, I have all the things Abby. We're going to talk. We've been friends for a long time. Listen in. Thanks for being here, Abby.
Hello.
She waved if you're listening.
Oh, yeah. I did. On with the awkwardness in what, 10 seconds? 10 seconds in?
Perfect. That's what I want. That's why I invited you.
I know. Why did you invite me?
I don't know. I think you got a cool story.
What do you know about my story?
Not enough. That's why I want to find out about it.
All right. I want to know what you know about it, though. Like where, because I could do you want the story of when I was an infant?
I don't need to go that far back. So I know that you had some health issues and you've worked around that with exercise and food and changing diet stuff and going through a whole bunch of that stuff.
Yes. I'm going to tell you part of my story that you probably don't know. And that is, I feel like nobody knows this part of me. When I was in high school, I had an eating disorder and I went down to 85 pounds. So for reference, I'm 150 pounds now. So half of me. And that lasted, I don't know, until I was 19, I think. And then after that, I didn't eat really good for a long time, but I didn't have an eating disorder and I figured out how to get over that. And then it wasn't until I was trying to quit smoking before I had my first child. And when I was trying to quit smoking, instead of getting a cigarette at home, I went for a run. So then I would run. My neighbors used to make fun of me because I would literally run here's where I would stop. I would literally go 10 feet from where I had stopped the day before, and everybody could see, they could see how hard I was struggling. I have never been an athlete, always overweight, slightly overweight, however you want to put it, other than when I had my eating disorder. So it's not, I had zero athleticism in me at all. So when running, it was awful. So then I got to this point where I was actually training for a marathon. So I had ran 10 miles a day or something. And I was building up, and I instantly, my body just basically kind of started failing on me. I started having digestive issues. I started feeling really fatigued. I couldn't get up anymore. I was living in a house that was, and this is post my first child. So I was living in a house. We were all living in a house that had really bad mold. And we knew it was a swampy house. I'm trying to think of what really spurred, because I started eating paleo then, because my daughter was super fussy. And that was the only thing that I could nurse her. And she wouldn't cry forever because she cried the first year of her life. So after that, so paleo obviously changed right? You eliminate any processed foods from your diet and it's just going to change your life forever. So that was awesome. But it wasn't until I got out of the mold that I really started experiencing a lot of changes. And then after I changed my diet, we actually lived in a camper all summer and remediated the mold in the house. And then it wasn't until I started addressing my emotional health, really, that my health issues started to actually go away. So there we are. And then somewhere in there, I started doing yoga all the time.
Yeah, I I know that you're kind of in a better, I know that you're, whenever, I should say, when you're posting on the regular basis and I see that you're doing yoga again, I know you're kind of in a good place. At least that's what I take away from that.
Yeah.
Because if you're taking the time for you to do the yoga, whether you got kids hanging off you or not. You know?
So I do yoga all the time. It's always been there. It's just a matter of, do I have the extra? So I used to really curate all of my posts and try to come up with something cool. And I just had to drop that because I can't give a shit enough. Who has the time to edit those videos? Like, I mean, I have 3 kids, so I just don't have time to do that. But yoga's always been there. I'm trying to think if there's ever been a moment it's not, and that's just not the case. There have been times in my practice where maybe it hasn't been as long. When I first started doing yoga, I would do like an hour and a half. And then I think after my 3rd child is when so there's this, there was a meme floating around. It said, 1 child is 1, 2 children is 2, and 3 is 15. And it's totally true. So she's kind of kicked my ass. But now that she's 3.5, I have a lot more space to do things for myself. So I mean, I am posting more because of that, but I've always done yoga. Like, it's always there, whether or not you see it. The handstands, that's one thing that I don't always make time for, which is stupid because it literally takes 35 seconds.
So I want to like touch on the eating disorder. So that's something that I mean, okay. So I've kind of had an eating disorder for most of my life, but it was the other way around, right? So I wasn't eating enough. I was eating way too much, like for a long time. But my household was eat as much as you can, make sure you have enough food. And I mean, we grew up poor, so my mom always wanted to make sure we had enough food. So I grew that mentality that if I need as much food as I can, I need to feel as full as I can. So then that way I know I'm good, right? So that doesn't go well as you get older. And like, I still struggle with that to this day, even with everything, weight loss, everything. I still struggle with, I think of a good quality restaurant. Are they going to give me enough food? Am I going to get enough food for what I'm paying for it, I guess, too?
Yeah.
So a value, I mean, there's part of that, but I don't know. So like, I see people who've gone the other way, and it's very intriguing to me because it's so weird to not, or to be underweight, because I've never ever in my life, as far as I know, been underweight.
Yeah. So all of that has come to light recently. Like the why, I guess. So when there's an eating disorder, it's usually a control thing because you can control it. And then it feels really good to be able to control that thing. And that thing just so happens to be an eating disorder. Also, recently, like, kind of grateful my mother's not going to be around for this because she passed away 4 years ago. But I was her golden child. So my mom was a narcissist, and I totally didn't realize this until literally in the past year. And I was her golden child. So she actually would make sure that I had all my non-fat yogurts, it was awful what I ate, but like my diet sodas, like she would make sure all of that was stocked for me so that I wasn't taking in calories. She was literally feeding this eating disorder. When I was in 8th grade, she would buy me like Slim Fast because I wanted it. So she really like reinforced that I was going through that. And I remember my dad actually like standing up, and I think that was like what broke the straw that broke the camel's back in their relationship, is that he was actually standing up for me. And that is when they divorced too. Because my mom was literally supporting me having an eating disorder. It was so bad that CPS was called. They like had to do an investigation on our home. They weighed me every week at school to make sure I wasn't losing any more weight. It was really, really, really bad.
Wow.
Right. And it all stemmed from like, also when I was really young, I was called a boy. I was always called fat. Like I was made fun of for, you name it. Kids are mean, but like, so I was always made fun of. And so I saw this opportunity. I was like, okay, I'm going to lose weight and get the love that I want. When in reality, I feel like all adults know that that's not how you get the love you want. But like, I was getting that love from my mother at the time, and it was getting me attention, and it was making me feel like I was fitting in because I wasn't fat anymore. Like all of these things just created this awful cocktail of me having this super bad eating disorder.
It's crazy. I mean, because if you kind of take a second and break that down, like especially this is probably in the late 90s, early 2000s. I'm trying to get an idea of when this was.
So I graduated in 2005, so it was early 2000. Yeah.
Okay. Because I'm thinking because when I think back about when, when my mom and grandma would try to bring diet food home, or what they were under the impression of diet food, my grandma would bring home and make rice-a-roni because it was low in fat. So you could eat as much as you want. Right.
Yeah.
Or the snack wells when they were zero grams of fat, but they're just little sugar bombs. And, well, you can eat as much of those as you want because there's no fat in it. So that fat phobia of like that late 80s, into the mid 2000s, even probably still to this day, the fat phobia is really there with fat in the food. But, like the no fat yogurt, the diet soda, I mean, I imagine there was probably, if she, you said she was a narcissistic personality, I imagine there was probably something in there too that she thought she was doing what she's supposed to do. But I mean, I don't know what
I don't know about that. I really don't. I mean, if she was here, I would totally ask her. I don't know what kind of response that I would get from her, but I don't know. I cringe when I hear like when you think about like, so I starved my brain from fat for how long?
Right.
It's so important for the body. It's so like carbs are so important for women and their hormones. Like fat is so important for your brain and like cellular health. Like I don't want to say like she intentionally gave me the fat-free stuff, but I knew how many like even to this day, I can tell you how many calories are in most things because I think I was eating like 300 calories a day or something. It was insane. It was insane. I'm talking my eating disorder was extreme. I would eat lettuce with mustard because mustard basically has no calories in it. That was food for me.
It's terrifying.
Yes. This is why CPS was involved and why they weighed me and stuff. Yeah.
I mean, I was like almost the back opposite. So like we would, well, we always had more than enough food, I guess you would say. I mean, we would always have, like, we would make pizzas and we would, do all that stuff, but it was always on our side. Huge big bowl of cereal for breakfast. Make sure you eat it all. Get the milk. So, don't go to school hungry. So it was kind of the opposite. I don't even know. I couldn't tell you how much food I used to eat, especially as I got into my teen years and 20s, 30s, when I was, doing whatever I wanted. But
yeah, I mean, I would do that before. And that's why I remember when I was in elementary school, my sister and I could eat like a whole package of Oreos right after school together. I mean, I really was a fat kid. Like, it's not that I didn't need to starve myself to get to a healthy point, but that's just what I did. When you said bowl of cereal, something crazy that used to happen after like I was starving myself for so long, I would eat in my sleep. Like I would wake up, I wouldn't wake up. I would stay asleep, walk downstairs, go get like boxes of cereal and eat boxes of cereal in my sleep. Because
your body's like taking over.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
That's insane.
It is wild. Yeah. I'm very grateful for this body and what I have put it through and where it's at now. It's nuts.
So if we get past the eating disorder, you kind of conquer that. How were you able to conquer that? Was that with the CPS intervention? Was there other tools you had?
No, I actually went from anorexia to bulimia, and that's normal, like a normal transition because everybody's pressuring you to eat. So then you just start eating to please everybody else, but you don't want to do it. So then you just like start throwing it up. And that honestly happened for a long time. I can't even remember exactly what made me stop. It's like I wanted to quit smoking. I only smoked for 2 years and I wanted to quit because I just knew I shouldn't do it. Like, I just knew this is just not good. So when I was anorexic, my hair was falling out in clumps. My body hair actually grew longer and it does that. So you're insulated more. So like, I knew I was killing myself. I knew that was totally happening. And that's what motivated me. I didn't get any professional intervention. I just literally took one step at a time. I stopped reading labels. I started eating like what I thought was quote unquote healthy. And it just was, I don't want to call it a journey, but like cliche, just was a journey from there. Like eventually, I think I just found my own value enough, and I had good enough friends that I realized that I didn't need to do all this shit, and I was worth more than what I looked like. And like, that has been an ongoing thing. I don't ever struggle with thoughts of like being anorexic, bulimic. None of that ever comes back. I just valued myself as a human being, really. I've just always had that drive.
I think that's the most important piece of it right there, that being able to value yourself and know your self-worth, and I guess care enough about yourself to go and try to find what makes you feel the best. Because I mean, that's something that I've struggled with, even with the keto journey and everything, like getting to a point where I pay attention, like, how do I feel when I wake up? You know, if I wake up in the morning and I feel like crap, well, I ate something wrong yesterday. I didn't eat something that I should have eaten. What was that? You know, then I'll maybe remove it or whatever. You know, I mean, if I'm eating like the pseudo keto snacks and stuff you can buy on the grocery and stuff. So, I mean, you really have to take action on yourself, right? So,
Yeah.
I mean, you're responsible for yourself.
Right. So like, it's weird though. I have literally, I don't know what it is, some inherent biological, I think we all have it. I don't know why for me, it's literally saved my life more than one time. But I had a therapist point out to me that whatever's like saved me in my childhood will continue to carry me through. And there is this theme throughout my whole life. Like as a child, I remember always being alone. I'm not faulting my parents at all. Like I totally get where they were at, but like my dad worked during the day, and then he sometimes like worked really late at night, and then my mom worked third shift, so she was always asleep. So it's like my parents were never really there. My sister is 4 years older than me, so we're just not on the same level growing up. But I always was at a friend's house. Like I knew who was going to be home, when they were going to be home. I would go to my friends whose parents were always home. Like I sought out family everywhere. And like, look at poker night. Hello, what was that?
Yeah, exactly.
It's family. So
it was.
right. So whatever that is literally has saved my life through my eating disorder, through, I mean, all of it really, right? Like my whole childhood. It's kind of crazy, but I don't know what it is. What is that?
I don't know. My brother and I are 4 years apart, and I look after him, and I'll try to keep him in line.
Yeah, but you can't do that to anybody.
I'm not like harping on him, but I try to encourage him. And like when he posts, like, so he is, he's open about it. So it's not something that's like secret or whatever, but he is like recovering from alcoholism. So, and he is, I can't remember if he's 20 months sober. So, 20 months. I can't remember. I had to look it up, but without a drink, I mean, he was going through like fatty liver issues already, and he's 4 years younger than me, and I'll be 42. So that kind of stuff with like when he would drink, he'd go hard in the paint though. I mean, he would be drinking like a fifth a night.
Wow.
Which I didn't even know at the time. I know now, and I'm like, I mean, then there's nothing you can do to get someone to stop doing that. They have to come to that realization on their own. Because I mean, even if you were to pick them up and put them in somewhere and have them, some kind of intervention, the chance of it sticking is slim, right?
Yeah, you literally have to want it for yourself. So I came across that even in my health coaching business. Like so many people would come to me and want me to help them, but like they want me to fix it for them. And they don't want to take on whatever that is. Whatever that little piece is that makes you have that drive. But that has to come from within.
So are you still doing the health coach thing?
At the moment, no.
No? Any particular reason, or outside of like being frustrating, or?
No, the frustration thing never bothered me. You just have to set hard boundaries, right? Because people just want supplements and you to fix everything without doing the work. But no, so I got a job that was full time because it was really stressful trying to pay bills, like owning a business and not having something more secure, especially when you have little kiddos. So that's it.
Normal everyday stuff.
Right. Yeah.
Having a job.
Right. Yeah. The reason why I had started it was because I had lost my job. I mean, that's not why I became a health coach, but that's why like I was really pushing for my business, was because I had lost a job. So then I had time, but then I ended up getting another job.
Because I've had people come to me throughout my own journey, you know, people that we know, people that are friends, close people, and it's about 25% of the people that come to you will have, you know, a moderate to, you know, being successful. And then some people want to see, well, what are you doing? And then you kind of outline it. And then they're like, well, that's not for me.
Right. Well, there's a lot of effort, a lot of self accountability. I don't know. So I feel like it always comes back to your like emotional health, though. So I don't know. Like it's about that. Like, how much do you value yourself? How much do you feel like you deserved? Can you slow down enough to even ask yourself those like super hard questions of why am I overeating, or why am I not eating enough? Like, why am I eating what I eat? And like working full time and having small kids, like I totally get it. There's been moments where my diet has just been crap over the last year. But you kind of just have to like own it, look yourself in the eye, put your big girl pants on and do something about it. So I don't know. It's hard. You can't force people to want it. They have to figure it out, but it's that mental, emotional health. I think it always comes back to that.
And I think a big component of mental health too is the fear of like self-realization, or the self like looking into yourself.
Yeah.
Because I mean, it can be scary. Like even like I take a look at myself and owning up what I've found, right? So I know I have trouble with food. I know that food is the catalyst for me. So I have to build the journey around the food issue. So I have to, you know, if I know that I'm going to gravitate towards eating a lot of food, no matter what happens, excuse me, but I know that I'm going to have issues with quantity of food.
Yeah.
So I build into how I'm going to eat each day with that in mind. And I'm going to limit to a degree, but not overly so, what I'm going to eat. Obviously in ketogenic lifestyle, kind of leaning more towards the carnivore style thing, like where I'm eating mostly, you know, meat, cheese, or meat, eggs primarily, with a little bit of cheese and some other stuff mixed in. Sometimes I'll have vegetables, whatever. But I know that I'm going to probably have about a pound of meat and maybe 6 to 8 eggs when I have a meal, because I'm going to want a lot, and that's going to give me what I need without pushing me over where I need to be, kind of thing. So I guess that self-realization goes a long way, understanding yourself and being realistic with yourself too, like not going into things and setting lofty goals that you know in your heart of hearts you're not going to meet.
Right. Yes. And knowing that, like, so when you're battling something like that, like you have to literally it's like eating an elephant. You just take a bite at a time, right? Like you can't just expect it all to change in one day at all. I still literally can't have certain foods in the house because I'll eat them, and I will eat all of them and they will be delicious.
Well,
But
the same thing for us. I mean,
yeah. I literally, food provides me a lot of comfort, or like I'll use it to not want to pay attention to what's going on in my head, which is, you know.
Yeah. So like that mindless eating, because you're able to just kind of eat like, so like we used to splurge and have like popcorn. We'd buy like the bags of popcorn from Kroger. They have like a white cheddar. And it's really good, right? But it's terrible for keto. It's not low carb, but it's not a bag of Oreos, I guess.
Yeah.
But, you know, potato. But so we would do that, or especially like over like 2020, like we would go out and grab fast food, go get Thai food, even though it's so delicious. Thai food is the best. I don't understand whoever decided Thai food wasn't going to be low carb. But, you know, but that brought us comfort because, I mean, you know, being stuck in the house or whatever, you know, whatever your situation was throughout 2020, right? So,
yeah,
just finding, you know, and that finding comfort in food is still, you know, sort of a defense mechanism in of itself. Like there's a lot of people that I see on Instagram and their whole mantra is food is fuel. And that's the only way you should look at it. It shouldn't be a reward. It shouldn't be. And they're absolutely right. But at the same time, it's almost impossible for like 99% of people on the planet. Or,
right.
I mean, well, at least in the United States.
And it is fuel, like food is fuel too. But if you think about when we would hunt and gather, so that's what you would spend your day doing, right? And then like the big hunt comes in. What would everybody do together?
Celebrate.
They would sit down and eat it together. The difference is we're super busy right now. And so there's not that time to like sit and gather and enjoy it. We just shove it in our face and forget about it. Like it just becomes this thing, like we're not conscious of it. Also, we're doing it with every meal, eating like a ton of stuff. We're eating like high calorie meals for every meal or high fat meals. And like it's every meal versus spreading it out. But the thing that I have to do for myself, and that's helped me the most, like through this whole thing, is literally just eating what makes me feel good. I still have my digestion is still not great. And I just feel like it's going to take forever to get back to like a good place. So I have to just eat like what makes me feel good, what doesn't bloat me, what doesn't hurt my stomach. Like, okay, so that's no longer just paleo foods. I am still gluten-free. I'm a lot of everything free. I just eat air. But it's sort of feel like some people ask, like, what can you not have? I'm like, can we just go for a walk? I mean, we can just not eat together. This is not going to work. But for me, like, I just can't, like, don't look at labels. Eat what makes you feel good, because you're going to know exactly like what you said. How do you feel the next day after you eat it? How do you feel later? I don't, if I'm super, so like in the summer times, I'm more active. I hike a lot. I like monkey around with my kids a lot. I'm just more hungry. So I just eat. But the thing is like, I don't eat a bag of potato chips. I don't eat Oreos. Like I'll have a big ass salad with super good salad dressing all over it. Walnuts, sunflower seeds, like just normal real food. I can't tell you the last time I've actually counted calories or done anything like that. My weight has stayed pretty much the same. And I don't pay attention to any, no counting anything. There's no macros, nothing's involved here. I just intuitively eat, for a lack of better terms. And like at some point, I had to just ask myself, like, is it worth doing all of those things to look a particular way? Like, it's so corny, but I'm totally on this, like, body positive, just accept your body for what it is kind of thing. I mean, I feel really fucking good. I can do a handstand. Like, okay, we're good. The job here is done. I don't need to control anything else. Like, I can do a handstand, people. I feel pretty good about it. I don't care how much I weigh. Really.
Yeah, I've never been able to do a handstand. And I think that's kind of what draws me to your yoga too, because you're somebody that I know. Mm-hmm. You know, we have a relationship. And I can see you when you post. I'm like, she's doing yoga. And how many times have I told you I want to do that? And then I'm like, I'm not going to never do it.
I have been practicing yoga for 6 years. It took me 2 years to do a handstand. You got to put in the time. That's the thing. And the crazy thing about it is, like, so I don't handstand all the time or headstand all the time or do crazy stuff all the time. I just do basic foundation postures, which strengthen your core. They strengthen every part of your body. And that's what builds the strength for the super cool, like, show-offy Instagram crazy poses, which honestly, I used to be crazy killer like 4 years ago, 5 years ago. I used to be intense 5 years ago. I'm going to get that back one of these days. Just not today. Just not today.
Well, it's like, yeah, it's like I realize how much work would go into that for me, especially for someone where I'm at. Like, I have the flexibility of like a 90-year-old man, right? So,
yeah, I mean, but then you could be surprised at how flexible you will become, because you don't need flexibility. Like, the point of yoga is to give you that, right?
Right.
So you would be surprised, I think.
I'm sure that I would. And I mean, like, even like right now, like I need to, I figure I want to go for a walk. And then I watch another video on YouTube. I know, like, it's like I've got like certain pieces of things in my life kind of figured out, and I'm kind of putting those into place. And there's other there's other pieces just kind of floating out into space, and I need to pull those in, and like more exercise and more physical activity, more going outside, less hiding in the house. Because I really kind of feel like I do just kind of hide in the house. Like, I like my house. I have a really comfortable couch.
Yeah. Well, maybe you should just burn the couch and just make yourself uncomfortable. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
I think just do it. The other day I recorded a video and I didn't post it, and maybe I should now. Maybe I still have it. I don't know. If I do, I will post it. Every single day I run 2.5 miles. I don't run on weekends typically, especially during the summer. I try to take some rest days from the cardio because I feel like it can be too much. So every day I run 2.5 miles. I don't want to do it ever. Never do I want to do it. There's a lot of times I don't want to do yoga, but I do it. And the thing about it is, like, I feel so much better. Sunday, I'm going to do a hot yoga class in Broad Ripple. Listen, I did this a couple weeks ago. I fucking died. Seriously, I looked so bad. By the end, I literally had to just sit there. People were still moving, and I'm just sitting there because it was 95 degrees. The way this studio is set up, like above, you have heat lamps. Like, you're literally a lizard. Is so hot.
You're doing yoga on a rock.
Yes, it's so, oh my God, like it is insane. But the thing about that is that day was we'll call it a high anxiety day. And I had to have a very hard conversation that I knew was coming. And I didn't want to talk like to this person. I just wanted to ignore it. And this was after the hot yoga I had this conversation. I literally felt so good. I had the conversation, was able to say, hey, I can't talk about this anymore. We have to shelf it and we can come back to it. I would not have been able to do that. I would have just been like in this spiral of anxiety and not being able to lay out boundaries. But for some reason, the hot yoga, it kicked my ass enough, I guess, that the rest didn't matter because I almost died. I have no idea why I felt so good. But so I think as far as like the physical stuff, you just got to do it. And then I know for me personally, like if I have eaten something and I have high inflammation and I'm swollen and I don't feel good in the morning, that's when I need it the most, because you're going to sweat it out. You're going to really get you're going to really detox. You're going to really get all that inflammation out of there. I don't know the fancy terms, but I know when you exercise, it lowers your inflammation. So like those are the days for me that are super, super, super hard, but they feel the best when I'm done. So if you think about it as like running for me, 20 to 25 minutes. Even if I stop at 2 miles, 20 minutes.
That's 2.5 miles would be like 4 hours.
Well, that's a slow run. That's a 10-minute run. As far as runners are concerned, it's a slow run. And I don't run to race. I run because it feels better at the end. Like I just genuinely feel better after I'm.
So you get like that runner's high?
Not while I'm running. It's just some clarity. No, I around the 2.5 mile mark. I start to feel that euphoric, like, hey, I can do this forever thing. But the reality is I only have 25 minutes in the morning. I got to make the most of it. I got shit to do. I got kids that got to go to school and like blah, blah, blah. I have to work and all this stuff. So in the moment, no, I don't get that. It is torture the entire way. I hate it. I don't want to do it, but I do it. And then I feel better.
About 12 years ago, what was like 2010 or so, I was going to Gold's Gym like every day, like every weekday. and I was doing the elliptical and I was working my way up. And I remember I got myself up to a half an hour doing the elliptical. And I think I was able to get up to like in 30 minutes on the elliptical, I was able to get to like 2.5 miles. But I remember having that euphoric moment where like I'm running and it just like, you know, not running, but the elliptical.
Yeah.
And it just felt so good. I was like, I can do this forever.
Yeah.
But then, you know, and I continued to do that for about 6 months. And really what my downfall was I started at a point in weight. And then after 6 months, I didn't see enough on the scale. Nothing else mattered about the whole point, about the whole thing of it. The scale was the end all be all for me at that point, and I didn't see the numbers moving enough.
Yeah.
So I basically gave up.
Yeah.
Where
Yeah.
obviously hindsight being 2020, looking back, I felt better, I looked better, and I was utilizing my time better because I was sitting in the sauna every day. So that was obviously probably like helping all kinds of stuff, helping my cardiovascular. I was getting in the water every day. So I was kind of not swimming. I wasn't swimming laps, but I was stretching in the water because, like I said, I have terrible flexibility, but being in the water helps a lot with that for me.
Mm-hmm.
So I was going in and doing, you know, the elliptical, or I was going in and lifting a little bit of weights. I wasn't doing a ton of that. I didn't really know what I was doing with the weights. So I would just kind of bob around the different machines and kind of do it for a few minutes. I'm like, you know,
That's
and
me.
then I have no idea what I'm doing, but then I get on the elliptical and I can do that for half an hour, go sit in the sauna for 20 minutes, get in the pool and stretch, and then shower and go to work. But I was spending like 2 hours a day at the gym, not really being effective, I guess, but I felt good.
Yeah. And you got to stick. So the thing about it too, I feel like you don't feel good at first. It's going to be hard. It's going to be crazy hard, but you do get to a point where you like build up and it feels so much better. You just got to get to that point.
Because I remember the first weekend after going, my arms hurt so bad, like both of them. Like I wanted to cut them off.
Yeah.
Like they just were like, and it wasn't just like sore muscles, but it was just like my body was like, "What did you do to us?" And then I remember I went downstairs at my friend's house, and he had a you know, like a curling bar, and it was like 50 pounds, and I curled it like once, maybe like between 1 and 5 times, and that pain went away.
Yeah. So yoga stretching helps with that pain. Although I kind of like that pain. Not when it's so much where you can't like sit down on the toilet. Like that's excessive.
Well, this was so bad I couldn't sit still. It was just like, I mean, it was probably something so new to me because, I mean, let's be real. I mean, I was working at a sit-down job at that point for about 3 years. Prior to that, for like 9 years, I was working at a warehouse. I was up, walking, moving, doing stuff all the time. Then I went to a sit-down job. My body was like, all right. And then I go to the gym. My body's like, what are you doing? Don't do that. That hurts. And then I'm like, I remember like the people that were over, I'm like, will you rub my arms? It was so bad. And they were like, no. I'm like, please. It was so bad.
How was your diet then? Like, what were you eating?
Oh, terrible. Garbage. Oh, well, I mean, okay. So when I stopped at that point, it was garbage. And then when I started going to the gym, I tried to eat better, but I didn't know what that meant. So what I was doing was I would go to the gym and then I would go across the street, because this was like at Gold's Gym on 86th in Michigan. And across the street, there was a Subway. I would go in and get a breakfast wrap, like one of those like a breakfast flatbread. And then I would have them make me a foot-long sub with chicken breast. Because I figured a sub with chicken breast is going to be healthy, right?
Yeah.
And I would eat the breakfast flatbread, and I would have it with egg whites because I thought that was what I was supposed to do. So flatbread, egg whites, some cheese. Then I have coffee, and then I would go to work and I would eat the flatbread. And then about 20 minutes later, I would be so hungry, I would eat my lunch at that point too.
Yeah, you need that fat. So if you worked out like that and did keto, I bet you wouldn't be as sore.
Oh, I probably wouldn't.
Yeah.
Well, at first I probably would, but
Well,
I mean, I think just kind of getting into that motion again, like I had, I had a, I had a membership to Planet Fitness. And then when I went in to finally, I gave up and was like, I'm going to cancel this. And they were like, yeah, you haven't been here for like 3,000 days or something crazy. I was like, oh. It just makes you like, it's the worst feeling. They're like, yeah, you just paid us money for no reason. But I remember there was a point when I was working at the warehouse because I remember I started to get skinny and I just kind of chalked it up to being at the warehouse. But then when I went back and kind of analyzed what I was eating, how and when I was eating, it all made sense knowing kind of what I know now. So I would not eat anything when I got up, and I would get up about 3:00 in the afternoon because I had to be at work at 4 in the afternoon and work till midnight, 2 a.m. And this is where I was working when we met, all at the poker night stuff, like over at Sleeve's house and stuff. So I would get up, and then my grandma would make me lunch, and I would take that with me and eat that about 8:00. So my first meal would be at 8:00, and it would be, sometimes it would be like, and this will sound gross to most people, but it was a peanut butter and butter sandwich. But I love peanut butter and butter. Even I don't know what it is. It's good.
Well, it must be that fat, right? You create like it. I say it all the time. If there's enough fat and enough sugar, it's going to taste good, right?
Yeah. So basically, you're just adding more fat to the peanut butter. Really, is what you're doing.
Yeah.
And so I'd have that, and I was probably drinking some sort of diet soda at the time, maybe regular soda. I don't remember. And then I would eat when I got home about 12. Well, between 12 and 2 in the morning, I'd get home, and I would make baked tilapia, really super spicy baked tilapia, and then I would make like the boil and bag rice, and I would eat that, and then I wouldn't eat again until the next night at 8:00. So in all reality, I was doing intermittent fasting without even knowing that was a thing.
Yeah, for sure.
So like I was actually doing like 16/8 without even thinking about it. I was, eating from, my eating window was what, 8 hours.
Yeah.
So between 4 and 12 and 2, depending on what time I actually got home.
Yeah.
So there was that. I was doing intermittent fasting. I was actually moving around. I was on my feet for 8 to 12 hours a day, depending on how long I was at the job, walking, moving boxes, whatever I needed to do that day. And then I was eating like rice and tilapia. So it was pretty simple. I was having like the peanut butter and butter sandwiches, or it was like this buttery, like instant noodle stuff that wasn't like, not like the bowl of noodle, but like the cheap dollar bags of noodles you can get from the grocery store. You just add like butter and milk to it. It was like an angel hair type pasta.
I think I know what you're talking about now.
Yeah. And I would have that or the sandwiches, because it was easy for my grandma to make for me, and I would just leave. And I mean, I was old enough that I should have been making my own food. But I mean, I cooked my own dinner, but she made my lunch for me.
Yeah.
And yeah, she's always been good to me. But yeah, so like going back and looking at that, I mean, I don't know how much weight I lost versus how much I gained going to the other job, but I mean, I know that while I was working at the other job is when I hit my at least hit the maximum that I was aware of over 420 pounds, but I don't know if that was my biggest or not. I mean, that's just the one that I had caught with a scale.
Yeah. Do you feel like weight is an actual number is important to you now?
Not as it once was. I mean, I still have kind of goals, and I know that weight is a part of that goal, but it's not necessarily the number, but it's more like I want to get to like a certain clothing size, and I kind of want to look a certain way when I'm wearing clothes.
Yeah.
But like the number itself is not so important. Like I don't weigh myself very often. Usually the only time I'm going to weigh myself is if I'm going to do an extended fast, like 7 days or more. So I'll weigh myself the first day, and then I'll weigh myself a couple of days as we go through the fast or whatever, just to kind of see what's happening. Then I'll, that's usually the time I'll check my ketones and I'll check my blood sugar just to kind of get an idea of what's happening when I'm doing the fast. Otherwise, I don't do that stuff too often unless somebody asks me or if I'm doing something in particular to check it for.
Yeah.
But I mean, our scale sucks anyway. So, and I think really, and I've been wanting to make a video about this, but I think the scale is kind of like the biggest, like, reason most people fail.
Yeah. I could agree.
mean, outside of just, excuse me, I shouldn't be drinking carbonated beverages on the air, but or while I'm recording this, but I think that's the reason why. Well, I mean, the scale, like the numbers, because we're so fixated on those numbers.
Yeah. It's
I'm this tall, so I should weigh this much. And if I don't, I'm a failure. And if I don't lose X number of pounds every week, then I'm a failure. And I see that all the time in like the various keto groups and I'm in. I only lost 5 pounds this week. What am I doing wrong? Well, it sounds like you did something right.
Right. I really struggle with weight loss, and not just because I have had issues, and maybe it is just because of that. But I really feel like we put too much value in that number, and there is too much value in even like wanting to look a particular way, because we all it is unrealistic to try. So I think like BMI, if we were going based off of BMI and my height, I'd have to lose like 30 pounds. I'm not big. The 30 pounds is a lot off of me. It doesn't take into consideration how much muscle weighs. So I don't know. I don't feel like it's an accurate measure of anything. And I feel like it's really sort of archaic in a way.
Well, BMI is archaic. I mean, it was derived to kind of get an understanding of a population, from my understanding. So had nothing to do with the individual necessarily, but it was a good way. So you take their height divided by their weight and you get this number.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense, because like you could take someone like, I know Joe Rogan had talked about this one point where he's like, I'm obese. And you look at him, he's got abs.
Right. I'm considered obese. I don't think that I'm obese. I do have body dysmorphia. Do you know what that is? Do you have that?
I suffer from that a big time.
Is it in a trip?
Oh man, it's so messed up. Like I can look in the mirror and I mean, it's subtle, but I can look in the mirror and be like, oh, I don't look. And again, your brain's like, you haven't lost anything. You still look exactly the same. I'm like, oh, and then and even though like your brain's like, yeah, idiot. Yeah, you do. You look better. This is smaller, you know what I mean? But like, you actually have to actively kind of fight with yourself on it. So like, yeah. But if you're just it's really bad for me in passing, like, or I'll get up and I'll put something on and I'm like, oh, such a fat slob, you know?
Yeah. I feel like for me, I don't know. I just know that when I see myself, it's a lie. Like it's literally my eyes don't see the truth. It's so weird. It's super trippy. And I don't know how else to describe it, but yeah.
I mean, it's one of the main reasons there's not a lot of pictures of me out there, like from years ago.
Yeah.
There's just, and that was like coming on the age of cameras being everywhere. Everybody had a camera in their phone, and there's pictures of all kinds of people. And there might be more than I think, but especially like when I was at my biggest, I think I hid the most from the cameras, but so like when I go in now to try to do like side by sides, there's like maybe 4 or 5 pictures that I can draw from that I have.
Yeah.
But even still, like I'll have to stop and look at those pictures sometimes. And then even like, I'll look at that picture and I'm like, well, that was me. This is me now. But I know I probably look like that because I was probably leaning forward too much or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. It's wild. It's a trip. That's why that's why my Instagram is basically movement, and you don't see a whole lot of me in a picture or I'm making weird faces. I've noticed that a lot of my pictures, I have just like the most awkward face. And I think it has something to do with that. It's interesting.
Yeah. And I think, it's like, the old adage, like you always have those people that like can never take a serious picture.
Yeah.
They're always flipping off the camera or doing something. They're always making a funny face because they're not happy with something.
Yeah.
And it's obviously not conscious, but
Yeah, for sure. So I feel like, yeah, I'm gonna have to like analyze now every time I take a picture of myself. I'm gonna be like, what don't I like and what am I doing? Or like, I don't know. I'm gonna have to push that. Anytime I find something like that about myself that's uncomfortable, I have to just push it and try to make myself super uncomfortable. It's weird.
I don't know if I look at it like that or not. It's probably, I mean, might be the same thing, but I don't know if I look at it the same way. Like, I like to try to do hard things, but like hard things in my mind that seem like they'll be easy for me to do.
Like what?
Like the fasting. So like, I know that I can do 7 days. I know I can do 14 days. And when I did the 21-day fast beginning of the year, I knew that was going to be a hard thing to do, but it would be something that hard for me to do that I could do with little effort, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Is there anything that like, is there a challenge though that you could give yourself that would be, so for me, it's about challenging my beliefs about myself and my mental state and all of that. Like so there is somebody doing a photo shoot today for body positivity and bathing suits. And I'm considering doing it today or the next time that they're doing it, only because it makes me super fucking uncomfortable.
Oh, same.
Like, holy crap, this is going to make, and so it's not even just like, it feels like I just want to shrivel up and die, not show myself off in a bathing suit.
So I was always that kid that, well, like, even into being an adult, that I wouldn't take my shirt off to get in the swimming pool.
Yeah. I feel like that. I feel like I want to go in like a robe, in like a full, like a full on like the old school bathing, not a swimsuit, like an old school bathing suit that's like the shorts. I won't if I do it, but I'm trying to like really get myself. But it's because I want to push myself to just celebrate who I am and like what I look like now and like what my body has been through. And a way to do that is make myself really freaking uncomfortable with it.
I've been seeing like a lot of the body positivity shoots with like, they'll do like on Instagram and you can swipe through and see like women and men and doing like, like whether they're like super skinny guys or like overweight guys and, women of all shapes and such. And I think it's very important for people to be able to step outside their comfort zone and kind of be like, this is who I am. May not be where I want to be, but this is where I am now.
I also think part of the message that's like really important is like this is normal.
Right.
What I look like is normal. I want to do it so bad in regards to like being a mother and what my body looks like now. And I'm not saying that I think that it looks bad, but I have a ton of extra skin on my stomach. And so like there's always going to be this like layer it's like a little pooch, but it's got extra skin, so it looks kind of weird. But like, I had 3 kids, and every child, no matter how I ate, I gained 50 pounds. Like, so you think about that on top of what I did to my body when I was young. It's just it looks the way that it looks. Like, it doesn't look bad. I don't look awful. It doesn't mean anything about me as a person. But I think that it's really important for like, especially relating to me, is like other mothers feeling okay looking like they look, like with the extra skin, with rolls and stuff. Like, you can see I have some defined abs, but I also have a very squishy, rolly, extra skin stomach. It's interesting. And I've wanted to throw that out there for a while, but I'm too scared.
Well, okay, so there's a YouTuber. He is very open about his loose skin and such. Mm-hmm. He's Obese to Beast. Okay. I don't know if you're familiar with. He's been on Ellen. She gave him a car.
Cool. No, I'm not familiar with him, but that's awesome.
Well, I mean, I think he got the publicity because he came out on YouTube, like, and showed himself and like his loose skin, like it's so like his pecs, like you can see he has like defined pecs, and then
Hmm.
like, but his skin sags below his pecs and his nipples are below his pecs.
I think every nursing mother can relate, but yes.
Yeah, I mean, and then he's like, you can see like the belly skin is hanging real
Hmm.
low, and I mean, I think as stigmatized as it is for like women who've had kids, I think it's probably even worse for like big dudes who've lost a bunch of weight,
Yeah.
but only in the fact that, well, because I think people think, well, you've lost this weight, you should look good now,
Right.
you know?
Right. And
And
go ahead.
no, I have the thought in my head, but I don't have the words for it yet. So go ahead.
Okay. I was just going to say, I feel like coming from seeing it, like I can see that, but from a woman's standpoint, there's so much, and I believe this for men too, especially on the internet, that there's so much push to have like a perfect body, to have, there's not as much anymore because we're awesome human beings are, but just to have like, just to snap back from having a kid, there's so many like wraps and stuff that you can buy after how, like, it's just ridiculous to think that women should just snap back. It's taken me over a year every time I've had a kid to get like my body quote unquote back. But like like, why are we trying to get a body back? Why not just be like, hey, this is just what it looks like now. Like, I'm taking care of it. It's nourishing a baby. It just grew a whole being. Like, why not stop there? So,
Well, I mean, I can see both sides of that. So, so I know that there's a lot of pressure on women, probably, and I kind of said there's a stigma with guys, but not in the same way that there are with, because women that you have, there's obviously the over sexualization of women. So like, like everybody says, oh, pregnant women are glowing, they're beautiful, in which they are. When you see a pregnant woman, you're just like, oh, she's pregnant. Look at her. She's beautiful. Look at her. Right.
yeah,
Then
right.
as soon as they have the baby, you do expect them to go back to where they were and be beautiful again. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's almost like, for me, another thing that helped me like overcome all of this with myself is don't buy magazines anymore. Don't watch anything or pay attention to anything that's going to make me feel negative about the way that I look, because for a long time growing up in the 80s and 90s, like twig models. So I see it now, like you go to the mall, Victoria's Secret has all size model, or all quote unquote size models. I'm sure they're still on the smaller side, but they're not anymore. That image of just stick thin isn't there, and it's becoming more popular to like have every shape of a woman be represented. I just think it's super important for men too. I'm not trying to speak from just women. I think it's for all humans just to be comfortable in the skin that we exist in, because we all deserve to just not have to fucking worry about what we look like all the time.
Yeah. I mean, it's difficult because Shannon and I will talk about that all the time. She will say like, plus size women's clothing is atrocious.
Yeah.
Like, it's like they almost make it ugly on purpose.
Yes. Yes.
And I mean, that's what and that's coming directly from her.
Yes.
She'd be like, the cuts are bad. The prints are bad. It's like, now there are companies coming around now. There's Torrid and different stuff, because she's a reseller on top of her normal job. So she goes and buys clothes and resells them. And so she's always talking to me about this, and I try to absorb it a little bit, and I pay attention, and she shows me things that she buys and what she thinks she can sell it for. And I understand that there's the brands that are the bigger sizes, like the Torrid, and I can't think of the other ones. I know Torrid's one of the biggest ones right now.
Yeah.
For plus size, but I know there's Lane Bryant, and I remember Lane Bryant was when my mom was around.
Yeah.
Because my mom was a big woman, and like if she wanted to get some nice clothes, that's where she had to go.
Yeah.
Now, for me as a big guy, when I was 400 pounds, like at my biggest, I was wearing 50-inch pants, and that was like under the gut.
Yeah.
Not if I was wearing over the gut, it'd probably have been a 60 whatever plus, right? So I always wore under the gut. There's the two factions, you know, and there was only a few places you can go to find clothes that are affordable, but like there's the big and tall stores.
Yeah.
And they're like ridiculously expensive for like no reason. Like, well, I think they're expensive because they think they can be.
Yeah.
And even in those magazines, like, because I still get the mailers sometimes, and they're like the catalogs, and even in those, it's like these giant, like, look like ex-football player guys, like the quarterback guy, are like 6'6", and he's muscular, so he shops at big and tall.
Yeah.
Never like, you know, the 6 foot 430-pound guy who's like, oh, I can't find a pair of pants at Walmart.
Yeah. It's gotta be, I don't know. I hope that stops, because everybody should feel comfortable being themselves, right? Like,
well, and I know, so it's like a twofold issue too. Like, I wish that nobody had to go through what I went through. I wish that nobody got to be 400 pounds.
yeah.
I wish there wasn't like rampant obesity. I really do. I mean, and not just the BMI aspect of obesity, but like the actual unhealthy of obesity that we have, because it's terrifying. It feels terrible. You know, my legs hurt all the time. I didn't breathe very well. I had sleep. I still have sleep apnea. I still sleep with a CPAP machine, but heartburn and just all kinds of terrible things that come along with being that big, along with other things that I haven't necessarily talked about too much, but there were like at work, my biggest, I couldn't use certain restroom stalls because they didn't fit anymore.
Yeah.
You know, things like that I don't wish upon anybody. And that's like, so kind of like when we start talking about body positivity, I kind of have like a double-edged sword admiration for the campaign.
Yeah.
Because that's somebody who was so big. Like, I know what comes along with being big, and you want to be positive to people, but you also know what they're going through being big.
Yeah.
And it's like, you want to be like, but don't be big. And I know that it doesn't work, because it didn't work for me, right?
Yeah. I
But
mean,
yeah.
I want everybody to feel as good as I feel. I feel like telling somebody that they're okay looking the way that they are, I feel like it's meeting someone where they're at.
Right.
And it's also okay to lose weight if that's what you want. But at the same time, like, you don't need degraded as a human being because you're bigger, or even because you're smaller. Like,
right.
either end of the spectrum. Like, we need to, I've tried so hard with my kids to not, and this is actually just backfired the other day. Hello. I'll tell you the story in a second. So I've tried really hard to instill never to speak about the way somebody looks, ever. Like, and by modeling that, and literally it never being a thing. Backfire the other day. So we have this slack line in our front yard, and it has all this like ninja stuff hanging from it. So it's got rings on it. It's got ropes with knots on. It's just all sorts of stuff hanging from it. And I like to get up there and swing around on it and do some stuff on it. And my daughter was doing, like, she was hanging upside down, and I jumped up and flipped upside down on it, and she hung up, and I was like, dang, girl, you could, like, you're really strong. If you can stay on this slack line when 150 pounds just swings up and starts, like, I mean, it moves a lot when I get up there. And she was like, well, if you lost that fat on your stomach. But she didn't mean it in a degrading. She was literally just a matter of fact. Hey, if you lost that fat on your stomach, you wouldn't be 150 pounds. It was very non-judgmental. I literally had to walk away for a minute and come back to her and be like, hey, just so you know, like, there are people, if you say that to, this is going to hurt their feelings. It actually kind of just triggered me in a way. But so, like, to a fault, right? So we've never commented on people's bodies. She didn't mean it. Like, she didn't know fat was like a shameful word to call people. She had no idea. So, but I feel like a humanity as a whole, like, can we get on this level? Like, there are so many more important things to talk about in this world than what somebody's body looked like. And to be honest, you knew at 400 pounds that it sucked.
Oh,
nobody needed to tell you that.
Right.
I knew at 85 pounds, nobody needed to tell me. No one. So can we move on? Like, can we like just come off of that as a society? even though it is important to be healthy, can we stop commenting on everybody's bodies?
Right. And I know, and I don't necessarily always make comments or whatever, but I see like some of the plus size models and stuff out there and the body positivity movement. And then I worry like, and I think it comes just from me, right? Just from my own personal experience. I'm like, that can't feel good. And I get that they're out there, they're doing something pretty awesome by being out there in a bathing suit, or they're being a model. They're out there putting themselves forward, where I was always retreating behind the camera, trying to be the person taking the pictures.
Yeah. Yeah. I just think that the intent for the body positivity thing isn't to just say everybody should be whatever and not do better. Cause I think, right, like human beings, like personal growth, we should all just continue to try to be a better person in whatever capacity that is.
Because I think it backfires too. Because I think, wasn't there a lot of backlash about like when Adele lost weight?
Yes. People hated it.
She was bigger and then she lost weight, and people were like, oh, she was a champion of the bigger woman and she lost weight. She left us or whatever. And I'm like,
yeah, those are the people who are looking for an excuse to be big.
Right.
Those are the people that this body positive thing isn't like a progression. They're looking for it as an excuse. You know?
Oh, of course. And I mean, that's one thing, like, I'm still not where I'm comfortable. But even being comfortable, like even doing, like being on camera is difficult for me. So, I mean, it's not as difficult as I thought it would be. And I've had to get over things like hearing my own voice and despising the sound of my own voice.
I think
to
we
edit
all do
these
that.
videos.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, these videos, I don't necessarily edit too much. There's not a lot that goes into editing these.
Mhm.
Basically what I do is I go in and I cut apart the beginning where I put the intro saying who I have the guest, and my little intro music and stuff plays, and then we talk, and then I put the outro stuff in, and then I put in some like little animations in the video that pop up and say subscribe and all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
But I'm still hearing myself if I'm editing an actual video where I'm cooking, and I go through the 45 minutes of footage to bring it down to 12 minutes, right? So that's huge hurdles for me. Being on camera in of itself is a huge hurdle for me. And then looking at myself all the time is difficult. So, I mean, I have days where the body like where that dysmorphia is kind of shuts off a little bit. I'm like, man, I'm a good looking dude.
Well, I mean, maybe is that what it's all about? Do we just continue to expose ourselves to ourselves and not avoid it?
I don't know.
You know, will that help? Because I feel the same about myself, but I feel like it's more of an acceptance thing. Like one reason why I don't post as much yoga now is also because sometimes I don't like when I'm twisted in a pose, like my stomach looks like a ringed towel. And not in a terrible way, but like, well, that's not very flattering. Or like the yoga pants will come down a little bit and then the extra skin like flaps over it, you know?
Well, it's the same thing with like if I lift my arm up and you can see my dangler, my bye-bye arm, you know?
Hang on, let me see if I can get Luigi. Luigi, no, here. Yeah, I got that, but like, look at this. Look at that.
Well, so you've got like that. I have some of that like on my hands a little bit, and it's different depending on the day. Like if I'm like feeling real good or whatever, it's a little more elastic, I guess you can see it. And like I can tell by like what I can see in my hands, or like how my hands feel, like if they feel kind of stiff or sore. There's a lot of weird things. Like your body gives us a lot of information I think we ignore a lot.
For sure. I know when I'm having blood sugar issues, my veins start popping out of my hands.
So is that like too much blood sugar or not enough? Like a hypo or hyper?
It would be, I think it would be too much. I don't know. No doctor has ever been able to figure it out. Like when we were hanging out, I would black out. I don't think it ever happened when we actually like at poker night or anything, but there's been a handful of times where I've just blacked out. And it's been related to blood sugar issues, but no doctor, like every time I do a glucose test or anything, I'm fine.
I think the way they do glucose tests, I think it's antiquated. I think because don't they give you like 75 mils of like pure glucose and have you sit in a room for an hour?
Yeah. And you have to show up like, so the thing that sucked for me about it is now you were talking about intermittent fasting. I do go 12 to 14 hours without eating and I feel the best. Also, if I space out my meals. But when I was at my worst, if you don't, like if I didn't eat breakfast and then you have to go to the lab, you have to do it when you've been fasting. And then they give you this glucose. I had the shakes afterwards. I felt awful, but I felt awful, but none of the testing ever reflected anything. It was wild. So yeah, when I had gestational diabetes with my third, and that's when I started associating the veins popping out of my hand with the blood sugar. And I started noticing. So in that situation, it was high, but it also happens when it's low. Like, it's like, I don't know. It's crazy. The human body fascinates me.
Like one of my last guests I had on, she is a type 1 diabetic, and she has like one of those continuous blood glucose monitors.
Mm-hmm.
And she's very diligent in keeping her blood sugars very stable.
Mm-hmm.
Because then she can minimize the amount of insulin she's using, and if her blood sugar gets too high, she gets these really bad headaches.
Yeah.
So she tries to never let her blood glucose spike above 120. And then she's been able to keep her HbA1c at like 4.7, which blew me away. I don't think I've ever met a type 1 diabetic who can do that.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know enough about it to be able to say if I have, but I know a lot of type 1 diabetics who have lost appendages because of it.
Well, I mean, okay, so the average diabetic is treated to an HbA1c of 7.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the baseline.
Okay.
So that's what they shoot for. Even though, like with type 2 diabetes, the base, like diabetic is anything above like a 6 point something.
Okay.
So they shoot to keep you in the diabetic range with the blood sugar.
Yeah.
Which baffles me. And it baffles a lot of people who are in that space now. But
yeah,
I mean, like Verta Health and there's a lot of doctors, like even in Indiana, there's Dr. Sarah Hellberg. Might be saying her name incorrectly. But there's like, she's working out of Purdue and IU hospitals and doing a lot of work with that. And Dr. Stephen Finney. They're doing a lot of cool stuff on that, like the diabetic side of stuff and checking all the sugars and everything. And I got to double check myself because I could be just mixing people up too and what they're studying. But I know that Verta Health is big in that space. But it's just, that was like super impressive to me that somebody could do that. Like even my cousin's husband is like, he's like, I'm usually about a 9. And I'm like,
is she keto? I'm assuming.
Yeah. So she is, her name is Noir, and she is one of the 2 main people on the Making Caca YouTube channel.
Gotcha.
I had them on a couple 2 weeks ago. They were on my podcast. I posted it. So she's basically keto, and then Jahil is not all the time. He has been, but he's got some issues with the doctor. Didn't want him to do keto because of cholesterol. I think he's a cholesterol hyperresponder. So like when you go keto, your cholesterol goes way high.
Yeah.
And like, and even I told him, I was like, there's doctors right now doing research to see if that even means anything negative or not, or if that's just something that the body does.
Right.
And the body's like cool with it.
Yeah.
Because we don't know a lot about cholesterol at this point.
Right. There's so much involved in cholesterol, how it's metabolized, what the body does with it, how your liver takes care of it. Like there's so many pieces to that puzzle that I don't think that taking the snapshot of what your cholesterol is accurate at all. My brother-in-law just had a widowmaker and they're trying to get him to go low fat. And I'm like, you need to look into different medicine because the way that they're thinking of it is not the same. I wish I could remember where I learned this, but I also wish I could totally, maybe you can do this, look into it. But I learned that when they figured out that cholesterol was like what clogged the heart up, all they did was cut the artery open and see that it was cholesterol. And they just assumed that cholesterol meant cholesterol. They didn't like,
Right.
there was no testing. Like they just were like, oh, well, there's cholesterol there. It must be the cholesterol within our, and that's not true at all. That it has more to do with inflammation, that it has so much more to do with other things. I mean, the levels of magnesium that you have, calcium, like it's not at all.
So inflammation's huge, and not just the cholesterol, but the type of cholesterol. Like you're looking at like the triglyceride levels. Mm-hmm. You're looking at like even like, is the cholesterol, is like the LDL, is it big and fluffy and happy, or is it like condensed and sticky?
Yeah, particle numbers. Is that what you're talking about?
like the particle size. There's so much going on with it that just going, well, you've got a cholesterol level of 300. We need to get you on this statin to bring that down. Because even, Shander will tell me like most people who have like, and other doctors have said this, they'll say that people who have heart attacks usually have low cholesterol at the time of the event. So like the high cholesterol is not the deciding factor whether you're going to have a heart attack or not. It's the plaque buildup in it's like the plaque. You can get like, I still want to go get a CAC calcium score test. That's like $100. I just got to be able to go and get it. I like to do a DEXA scan. There's a lot of stuff I'd like to do to kind of see like what my actual body mass is, like relative to how much fat I have, to get an accurate representation of what the percentage is, so I can look at the weight. Because it's not like weight is the end all be all, but it's a definite goal number. Kind of like I figure I should probably be, for my own self, like 220.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I haven't weighed myself in a while, but I know before I did my fast, I was like 330, which means I'd gained a bunch of weight back over 2020, or it's like 340. Then I did the 21-day fast and lost about 40 pounds. And I only gained maybe 10 of it back. Yeah. But then I haven't weighed myself to see if I've gained where I'm at. But I had gotten down with, I got down to like 275 was like the lowest. And I know I was also wearing smaller clothes. That's an indicator that I like to use more so. So I was wearing like 38, 32 pants. And then when I started working from home during the pandemic, I went to put on some pants and there was I had to go and buy a pair of like 44 32s for my sister's wedding and jeans.
Yeah.
So like, and I don't know, like there's two things to that, like the weight gain, like, and just, the depression that kind of come along with everything that happened in the last year or so. Because I don't think anybody came out unscathed on the depression side. I don't think anybody came out good on that. Right.
Right. I mean, like there are so many, okay, first of all, there's so many people who I have come across that are like, maybe I should do therapy, and like they just seem so unsure. I'm like, hi, we're humans. We just spent a year like avoiding each other. You're a human being. You're supposed to be social. There are so many things about being a human that we just ripped from our society for the past year. Rightfully so. I'm not saying we shouldn't have, but like, yes, every human being is suffering on some level. It can't be comparable, but yes, everyone,
I think like not only that, but then like even as we start to come out of it, there's people who are like, I don't think we should ever have handshakes again, and we should never hug again. And I'm like,
too late.
No, I have to be able to have some human contact, because hugs and handshakes, and because just like touching people's elbows is not going to be enough for me. And I know that sounds weird, but like that's the hardest part for me. Like, I need people in my life. And I mean, this is cool and all, but I'm not looking at you. I'm looking into this camera right here. So
yeah, no, I agree. And we're not like, you can't make eye contact that way. Which is weird. Cause like, do I look in this? Do I look at you? I've just been looking at you the whole time. So, but like, I just got an 1.5 hour massage today. Partially
wonderful.
oh, it's pretty good. And then like, because the last time I got an hour and this time I did an hour and a half. And I'm like, I wonder what the 2 hour would be like. But part of it, I need it because I have a ton of tension in my back. And another part is like, hey, we need touch. Like, it's so important for humans to touch one another, to hug one another, to shake one another's hands. I've already done that. Listen, I'm in. I'm full on. I am no longer scared of it. I want to be a human again.
I live with a nurse who would come home in the beginning of everything, and for the longest time, she would come under the garage, pull in the garage, close the garage door, strip naked, put all her work clothes into a trash bag. We would go together upstairs. I would put her clothes right into the wash, hot water, like a couple, like the little tab things into the washing machine, put like 3 of those in for just her uniform. Whether or not that did anything, I don't know. But we didn't know any, like, it was just terrifying, and we didn't know. So, she's like running naked through the house. There's like 7 people living here. Like, mom's home, close your eyes. She's running through the house. Unless you want to be scarred for life, Yeah.
So,
I mean, and then we were worried about the N95s, and there's just, but then as time has gone on, like, I was not as scared anymore. I wasn't scared of like the illness. I was more scared of like the ramifications of humanity.
Yes. And I say every time I talk about this, I say like, hey, a year ago, appropriate response. Appropriate. We all freaked out. We have acted accordingly. We did everything we should. And now I'm like, a year later, I'm ready to go do this thing down here that they're doing. Like, okay, so living in Broad Ripple, you would never know a pandemic is going on. There's people everywhere all the time. I'm ready to go partake. I'm so, I don't know. I'm so tired of feeling disconnected socially to the whole world. Or in the spring when we started to go to the playground, we never wore masks, and you could tell a lot of families were uncomfortable with it. And now every family is mask free. And I'm like, hallelujah. Can we all, like, our kids need to see faces. My 3-year-old just spent year 2 to 3, like a super important year of development, not around other human beings. Thankfully, she has sisters, and there's some of that. And we have had like our what a COVID like pod friends or whatever that we could have spent a little bit of time with, but like, it's just so important for humans to gather.
And I think everything's starting to open up. There's concerts coming. I've seen like more tour dates. And so that's kind of exciting. I'm just kind of worried like how things are going to go. How are people going to be weird about it? I mean,
as far as what?
Well, I mean, now you're kind of going back, like, when there's a consistency to going to shows, especially like someone like me, I was going to shows 4 or 5, maybe 6 times a month. Music is a huge part of my life. I'm even working on doing a music podcast, talking to musicians and such, but take that away and then you open it back up, and like, how are people going to behave at the first like handful of shows? Like the first 6 months of shows, people start getting out to go see something, they're letting loose. How is that going to look, right? Like,
hello, the roaring 20s. Hello.
Yeah.
Hello.
And that was something that was never really explained to me until this pandemic. Like, we had like the 1918 pandemic, and then the roaring 20s came through, and then we had like the depression of the 30s, and then we had World War II. Well, we had World War I. Then I think World War I probably spread that pandemic, but that's a whole other story. But
I think people are going to lose their minds. Once they get comfortable. I think the summer's going to be okay.
But I still see people like, I'm not going to ever not wear a mask.
Yes, I hear it too. Or like, they're so happy that nobody got the flu this year. But I feel like there's so much fear involved in getting sick. And I'm not saying that COVID wasn't serious, but like, we are made to get sick, and your immune system is here to help you with that. And if you starve your immune system from fighting off all of these things, it's going to be weakened. Like, you see, you have to have germs. Like, we have to be exposed to each other. or else we're going to be super compromised. So there's a middle ground. Yes, COVID's scary, but like you can't avoid there's a stomach virus going around right now. Like it's just part of being human.
Yeah, we had a couple of different things run through our house over the last couple of weeks. I didn't get any of it. Everyone's mad at me for it.
I don't get it either.
Well, I was the one cooking for you, so. But I don't know, like, I hope that we can kind of learn from this experience. And I think some people are going to be like hyper scared because of everything.
Yeah.
Where they're going to want to be the ones who think that we should continue wearing masks no matter what. Because like there's that Japan example, because Japan is a society where they do wear masks often.
Mm-hmm.
And I think maybe if you do feel the need to go out and you're not feeling well, maybe you wear a mask, but I mean, at the same time, is that something that Japan does because Japan is basically like one giant city? Then right. How does, I mean, like if you live and you deal with Brownsburg, is that the same as, like being in the middle of a big giant city like New York? I don't know.
Right. Yeah. Well, and I think there's autonomy here, right? Like we need to be able to make our own decisions for our own selves. To be honest, that's how I feel about it. There's a level of autonomy that humans need.
I'm excited for things to kind of get back to normal. At the same time, I went over to Plum's house over the weekend for his birthday, and there was maybe 20-ish people throughout the night kind of coming and going. Mm-hmm. And I was like, not all the way ready, not because of like any worries about being sick or whatever, but just the interaction in itself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm awkward as fuck. I don't know what's going on. I don't know how to have a conversation. I'm at home with kids all day long, and like my job, I do talk to some people, but I'm not like, it's not like customer service. I just talk to the same two people and we email back and forth. I don't know what's happening. My only form of social life right now is like when we go to the park and there's some other cool parent who wants to talk.
Like I know tomorrow we're going to get up early. We're going to go yard sailing and we'll have the girl with us for a little while. And then I think when she gets picked up, we're going to go to Costco. It's like my happy place.
I got to go to Costco too.
I love Costco. And they're opening one in Avon too.
I heard. Were you the one who told me that? Possibly. Yes, because we were talking about the hammock.
Yes. Mm-hmm. You're like, it's rated for extra fat. You can be okay. And I'm like,
it's a double hammock. You said you've never been in one because
I really haven't. Like, because we were at my aunt's house the other day because my cousin's in town from Virginia, and they have a swing in the backyard, like a 3-person like slidey swing. Mm-hmm. Well, not slidey. It's on like big heavy like chain and like springs. And my youngest son, who is 17, he's taller than me. So he's like 6'2", and he's probably 275. He's a big kid, right? And then we've got Logan, who's almost 3 and weighs about 4 pounds. But I mean, she's bigger than that, but she's tiny. And then you got me, and I go to sit. She's like, "Paw, sit down, Paw, sit down." And I look at my uncle, and I'm like, "If we break this, well, I guess we'll figure a way to pay you back." Because I'm like, I never know how much that stuff is rated for. You know what I mean? And
yeah, well, this hammock is a double hammock. That's why I knew it was rated for 400 pounds. And I have to look at this stuff for my kids. Because I know there's going to be me and possibly 3 children laying or swinging or, so I got to look at that because it adds up,
Yeah. I doubt I don't know if you guys would hit 400 pounds, but.
No, but I'm saying I had to look into it because you buy this $25 hammock from Costco. You're like, well, I should probably make sure this is a decent weight rating. Plus, I had just bought some sort of like pod things that my one daughter sat in and ripped it. And it was intended for like 100 pounds. She's not even 100 pounds. She's like 60 pounds when she's wet. So she ripped it. So,
Take it back.
No, it was at like 5 Below. I think it was.
Well, that makes sense. Because 5 Below, you go and they're like, oh, that's a cool t-shirt. And all they have is extra, extra, extra small.
Yeah, yeah. Right, yeah. These were totally a reject from some other, retail store somewhere along the line. And that's why.
Well, we've been talking for an hour and a half.
Mm-hmm.
Feels like 10 minutes.
Does it? It actually does.
Did you finish your burnt coffee?
No, but I'm really scared for how long I'll be awake right now. Do you not like burnt coffee?
I like I'm an all coffee matters person.
Yeah.
I love coffee, cold brew. I mean, like we've got one of those we've got one of those instant pod machines.
Yeah, yeah.
So it does the Nespresso pods and it does the Keurig pods. And then I have the little bag, how I make the cold brew, which I got a video that'll come out next week on how I make that. But I filmed it. I just got to edit it. I've been lazy.
Yeah.
It's super short, but it was like a week video because I had to it was like a week long because I filmed the first part, put the stuff in the fridge, got busy and forgot that it was in the fridge. And I get back and I'm like, I drank a cup yesterday, like a cup today. And like that caffeine hit me hard. Like I'm sitting there, like my head, I'm like the opposite of a caffeine headache. It was like caffeine overload. I'm like, whoa.
Do you do anything when you have that much caffeine, or was it so much that you had to like lay down?
I took yesterday I took some ibuprofen, and then today I did kind of take a nap finally, a little bit of a nap. But because we had the girl and she was ready for a nap, so we put on. I think we were watching like the Jungle Book or something. It was like just out.
That's so funny. Yeah, I like clean. I get so I'm pretty sure I have ADD or ADHD. So when I have coffee, it makes like really strong coffee. It makes it worse. And I get like, I get intense.
Well, we'll have to do this again. Because I miss talking to you.
Yeah. Maybe next time we can do it in person.
That'd be really neat. At least hang out, do something. I mean, I kind of feel that we always used to hang out so much and then life gets in the way. And it's been probably, I don't know how long since we've hung out. Like 10 years?
Well, I have an almost 10-year-old. So 11 years? I don't know. I'm starting to feel old as fuck.
I've got all the grays coming in. The camera doesn't really show it too much, but they're there.
Oh, I can see it. Don't you worry.
And then I've got a grandkid, so
that's true. You're a grandpa.
I know. I had a bow in my beard today.
I saw that on Instagram, I think.
Yeah.
It's cute. You should keep it.
Well, I mean, it hurts a little.
Why? How does it hurt?
I don't know, because it pulls. So it's not the most comfortable thing in the world. So, but I don't have hair up here. She goes, Pa, I don't have any hair. So she makes me put it in my beard. Well, because we were playing with bows and she doesn't have any hair. Like she's like got that wispy hair going on.
Yeah.
So she doesn't have any it's not long and it's not thick.
You could do like the Beast from Beauty and the Beast and put the bows at the end. Just wear them at the bottom.
You were talking about going to get a massage. So I haven't had a massage in a long time. Like I was thinking about this when you were talking about it. And then like the first massage I ever got was over like this, like one of those, like, it was a place called Rosa's over off of West Washington Street. So it was like in a house. Yeah. And it was total, like, I think they got shut down like a year later for all the stuff that you hear about.
Happy endings?
Well, I'm guessing. I mean, there was nothing. I just know this lady had her knees and elbows in my back, and it was amazing. It was like one of the best massages I've ever had. And then I've been kind of like obsessed with chiropractors. Yeah. I've never been to one, but there's a couple that I watch on YouTube, and that's kind of like my nighttime. I'll put a chiropractor video on, and I'm like, oh, and they'll pop their neck, and I'm like, oh, I need that so bad because I can't pop anything. Yeah. But like everything I've ever known is like chiropractors are like quacks, right? Yeah, for sure. But they go into hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt to do what they do. They're like basically doctors or are doctors. If anybody listening to this and you're a chiropractor, I'm going from total ignorance here. But what I know is I've heard that you can't trust chiropractors, but it looks like it feels amazing.
Yeah. So first, I believe in chiropractic. I don't know. I believe in a lot of weird shit, though. I'll be very honest. I used a chiropractor for my third baby when I was pregnant with her. And I feel like it helped a lot to keep all of my stuff aligned. I mean, but the only thing about that is like, you could never disprove that. You can't prove it or disprove it. Like, it's just how I felt, how birthing the baby went and everything. But so I have a new massage therapist, and I'm somewhat hesitate saying this because hopefully he doesn't hear this, but he's super cool. So I get his information. I find him on Instagram, and it's at a house. And I'm like, oh, so I literally had to text somebody, and I was like, hey, just so you know, I'm about to go get a massage at this house. But he's amazing, and it's totally worth it. And he's super strong, and I already want to go back. So I can hook you up with his information. He's good.
Yeah, because there's one of the chiropractors that I watch. She does like the real deep massage too.
Mm-hmm.
So she'll get it before she does any cracking. She'll get in the neck and just work, and like it looks like it hurts. Like she's getting in there, she's rolling your back and doing all kinds of stuff, and then she'll pop. But she's in Orlando, and I've teased Shannon, like, next time we go back to Disney World, I want to go and see her because she's not far from Disney. And I'm like, well, let's make it a real vacation and go get worked up, because I mean, she gets in and like pulls everything, like just. It looks like it's bad, but I'm like, oh, I need that so bad. Oh, like I don't have like hardly any range of motion in my neck. Like I feel like my body is like 80 years old. Like I feel like I really should start doing yoga, but there's that whole like, I'm going to show up, or even doing it in my house, I'm going to fall over and like break my ankle.
Oh man, okay, so yes, break shit. That's fine. I've fallen on shelves and broken them. I've broken like a collapsible laundry. You put your laundry on it to dry, a drying rack. I've broke so much shit falling on it. You just gotta do it though. I mean, okay, so when learning a handstand, I say it took me 2 years. You learn how to fall before you learn how you can hold yourself up. Same with yoga. You just learn how to fall.
Yeah, there was like a viral video going around some time ago. DDP yoga.
I don't know what that is.
Diamond Dallas Page. He was like an old wrestler from like the WWF.
Okay.
And he came up with this program, and he had there was like the little viral video was this guy who was like a military vet, and he was like walking with the arm crutches and could barely move, could barely walk, couldn't stand up on his own. And like they show like the time lapse of him doing the yoga, like falling over. Then he gets to where he's running.
Yeah.
And then I mean, I saw this, and then Diamond Dallas Page ended up on like Joe Rogan, and they were talking, and they showed him the video, and like Joe Rogan's like in tears, Yeah. And I'm like, that kind of transformation's amazing. And I'm like, I could probably do that. But then like I get down on the ground just to land my back sometimes. Because sometimes I just want to try to stretch my back out and lay, because like I've got a weird like curve in my back, and I can't lay, like if I lay on the ground, my head is up and like it doesn't touch the ground very good. So I've got a weird shape, and I'm like, I don't know if like a chiropractor can help me with that, or like massage therapy or yoga, or I'm sure it can't hurt, right? But there's a lot. I mean, and like I try to lay on my back and stretch that out, and and like even just that, like getting on the floor and doing that and then trying to get back up again is difficult.
So you should keep doing it.
Yes. I mean, that's the obvious thing. But it's still, I mean, there's a lot of like ego involved in that too, right? I mean, you get down on the ground, I'm like, I have trouble getting back. Well, I'm not going to do that again. It doesn't make any sense, but it's like body dysmorphia at the same time. It's like you can see yourself, and then you see yourself as like your brain's like, well, this is what you look like. And you're like, not really, but you have to fight through it. I guess it's the same, maybe.
Well, and those are those moments of discomfort that I'm talking about that I push myself through. Like, you're challenging your own belief in yourself. Like, you're challenging the beliefs that you have in yourself. If that's that ego, right? All right. Here's what my ego is doing to me. Well, fuck you, ego. Watch this. And it's a trip. But, you know, I never thought I would ever be able to do a handstand. I'm working on doing pull-ups right now.
Oh, I've never been able to do a push-up. I've never been able to do a pull-up in my life. And even like back in like elementary school, we'd have to do like in gym class, you'd have to do like so many pull-ups to get a grade in class.
Yeah. I've never have I ever done one. The other day, I'm starting to get it because I can kind of jump now and get myself halfway there and then pull myself up. So what I've learned is if you can pull yourself up and lower yourself down, you kind of like build backwards. So if you can lower down with control, you'll eventually build the muscle to pull yourself up. So I'll let you know. I'll post and let you know when that happens. But
there was a time when I was a kid, right? So when I was a little kid, I remember the apartment that I grew up in, there was like a little hallway that led to our bedrooms and our bathroom. There was like the little louver doors that were like the water heater and the furnace and stuff was. There was like a closet door. But there was enough space there where I could shimmy myself up the wall.
I knew you were going to say that. Oh, what? So
I could like with my hands and feet and Spider-Man myself up the wall. Yeah. And I think back, like I was a puny little kid, right? Probably the only time in my life I've probably ever been underweight, if you will. I don't know if I was or not, but I was able to do that. And like, I think back to that, I'm like, I'll never be able to do that again.
But maybe you can.
Maybe I can.
Why would you never be able to do that again? I'm going to go do it right now. The only thing that's okay, so I do this. And the only thing that's really hard about it is that when you're a kid, the ratio of human to wall space is different than when you're
like you're an
adult.
Yeah, I don't have any place in this house where I can do it.
You do it you don't have a hallway to do it in?
Not like a traditional kind of hallway, so I'm in my office. And then there's like a little wall outside, there's like my door comes out this way. And then my bedroom door is across from it, but it's about 10 feet. And then there's a huge loft out that way. And then there is like a hallway that leads to Hunter's room, but it's over the stairs. There's like a landing. So there's like a half wall. So there's no hallway there.
Yeah.
And that hallway where the wall is only, waist high. Because you can look down and see the stairs below that take you downstairs. Then it leads into the laundry room. But so we don't have any tradition. Like even downstairs, like when you come into the house, like you open the front door, you go up the stairs to the upstairs, and then there's like what would be the formal living room, which is basically Logan's room. And she's got her trampoline and her slide and her kitchen and her workbench and buckets and baskets of toys and a basketball goal and a bookshelf. And we're getting like tomorrow sometime, we're getting a couch and love seat for there too. That's her room. And it's going to have like a pull out couch. So if mommy and daddy want to stay the night because they're too tired of visiting with us and they could stay, whatever. Right. So yeah, we don't spoil her at all.
No, it doesn't sound. It sounds like she's actually neglected.
but I was thinking about that, but then she'll go and dance. So she likes to dance, and her favorite song right now is "Pump Up the Jam."
That's awesome.
Because I'll play it. She'll be like, "Play Pump Up Jam, Pump Up Jam," and then she'll dance, and she does these dances, and every once in a while she'll start adding new moves to it. And she's been doing like this push-up kind of dance move where she gets down and starts doing like a weird push-up. But she doesn't know what she's doing, right?
Yeah. She's breakdancing.
Well, the only consistent move she has is when, like, in the song, she's like, put your booty or get your booty on the dance floor. Uh-huh. She stops and sits and puts her butt on the floor.
How cute.
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah, kids are awesome.
She did one of those finger gun click things at me. She smashed like today, and I was like, but she didn't. It wasn't like that, but she was like, it was the weird, like, I'm like, I about peed myself. Because we sat down, I just made her some breakfast, and we sat on the. She does the cutest stuff, but kind of back to that whole like kid thing, being able to climb up the walls. But then she's like doing push-ups and stuff, and I'm like, she's like, if she stands upright, she's got like abs almost, and then she's like, but then if she's still got like that baby belly too at the same time. It's weird.
Yeah, kids are strong.
Oh, she really is.
And then we sit down
like this.
Yeah, and then stop moving. It's actually one reason why putting my kids in public school was hard at first, because homeschooling, they could like get up and run around and they were always moving, but they're at a school that they don't sit all day long. So it's good.
I was thinking about like, I don't know. I think when we were like elementary school, you got up and you had like recess 3 times a day or whatever. And then you had gym class once or twice a week or whatever. And then
it's not a thing
maybe
anymore.
Once a week. I don't know. But so, and we didn't really play a lot of sports. I always wanted to play sports, but my mom was always worried that if I played football, I'd get hurt. And I tried out for baseball one time and I didn't make the team.
Yeah.
I wasn't athletic. So it was disheartening, but at the same time, I was asking a lot of that coach, you know what I mean?
Yes, I know what you mean. I was never, I can't know. I hung out with skateboarders, which is probably shocking. And that so like walking around with them and like biking with them but I was pretty active in that, but not at school. Nothing to have to do with school.
Like now I sit down all the time. I mean, even now, like I'll go and I'll like, oh, can we sit down?
I tried to start this standing up and then I realized it was a bit less.
I need to get one of those like treadmills. And then like I can have like a moving treadmill over in the corner or something. And then I can just have like all the camera clamps, because there's nothing really difficult that I can move. Like my camera's on this weird little like thing that's mounted to the desk. And my microphone's on a bigger thing and the lights are up here. And so, I mean, there's nothing really that I probably couldn't mount to a treadmill. But then I just be like, how was your childhood?
Yeah, I don't know how people work while like walking. I don't think I could do that. I don't think like people who run together and have conversation. I don't know how they like. I've been running for years and I don't know how they do that. Like, it's not my thing. But I have this cool like. Look at that. Look, can you see it going down? I have this cool desk that you can stand up at, and then you could get like Bosu balls. You could stand on those. Like there's different ways to move while you're,
I need to do something, but then I spend a lot of time editing video, and that's like a sit down thing. I don't think I could do that trying to be on a treadmill, but so then I have to like have more stuff moved over, like a mouse and keyboard, and I don't know.
I don't think I could ever do a treadmill while at my desk. No.
I know when I was working at my old job, the last job I had, they had like, if you had like a doctor's note, they would install like the moving desk for you to go up and down. And then they would have certain desks, like you could go and work. If you wanted the treadmill, you could take your laptop over and plug it in and work at the treadmill desk or whatever.
That's cool.
But nobody ever did it. It was like the dustiest part of the building.
I just don't think this just doesn't sound comfortable to me. I don't
know how you type and try to move your thing and like.
Right. Or even just like the bouncing movement of the walking. It just seems like it'd be one of those, like, I'm not as productive because I'm focusing on walking here. Or how slow.
Not falling over. Or,
how slow are you walking?
I'm terrible. Like I went out like one day, like I had like some buildup of gas or whatever. And like and I felt like I ate something weird. And like Shannon was like, you need to go for a walk and let that work itself out. I went around so it was weird. So I went out and I did what she said. And I go out and I go walking around the neighborhood, because there's like our sidewalk is like a big loop. And I walk and I pass this girl twice. And I'm like, that's too weird. I'm going in. Like, people, I'm going back inside because you're going to think I'm trying to get her.
Oh, that sucks that you had to think that. I don't like that.
Well, I mean, and I know that she probably didn't think that, but then I'm like thinking she may think that, like maybe I'm out there like, and I'm like, well, he's gonna get me, you know what I mean? Like,
Right. I just mean that sucks to like think that like guys have to walk around. I guess you don't have to, but I'm sure you like much like women walk around wondering when they're in danger and like when like we no matter what when women go out, we're constantly assessing how much danger we're in and if anything's gonna happen. Like I hate that you guys are also going out with those things in the back of your mind too.
I definitely keep it in the like and like one of the first times it ever happened. My mom was in a rehab facility after having a stroke, and we were there was a giant complex over off of 38th Street,
Mm-hmm.
and I was walking out of the building, but then like there was a woman walking. She'd kind of come from one hallway, and I'd come from another hallway, and then when I was walking behind her down like the hallway out, and then out through the doors, and then down this long pathway and then through another pathway. I kept being behind her and I was like, man, I hope she doesn't think I'm following her. Like, but those thoughts are there. I mean, I guess it's good that I feel like that. I mean, well, not, but you know what I mean? Like that it's present, I guess. I don't know.
Do you ever just go, hey, just so you know, I'm not following you and this is just weird? Do you ever just do that? Just throw
That
it
probably wouldn't make it better.
Really?
That'd probably make it worse. At least in my brain, she'd be like, you say that, and she starts running. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I think being hyper aware of your surroundings is very important.
Yeah. No, woman, hello, not very big. Absolutely important. I remember working at Castleton Mall when there were at times there were people hiding underneath cars, like cutting people's ankles.
Yeah, well, that's been a thing at malls for a long time, which is weird.
Oh, they were like active, like it wasn't just like a myth, like this shit was actually happening.
I think I heard about that, but it's been a long time.
Well, it's been a long time since I worked in a mall.
It seemed like all of our friends worked at malls at one point in time.
I mean, like, hot topic. Hello. Where else can I get a job 12 years ago with all of these tattoos and things?
Wherever you want.
12 years ago? That's not true. I had a job with Angie's List. I was a front desk receptionist. And I was literally at the front desk. And so there was 5 of us, but only 3 of us were technically at the front desk. And the other 2 had to work in another room because there wasn't enough room for us. They moved me from the front to go sit back because they didn't want investors to see me right away. This is 12 years ago.
Well, when I worked at like I was at a job for like 12 years and I had tattoo. Well, none of my tattoos are really visible. Like I have like an arm tattoo, but I mean, at the time I didn't have a lot of tattoos working there, but over the course of time, I guess tattoos, like people had tattooed arms and it became more of a thing, but that was like from 2007 to like 2019.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's definitely become a thing because I mean, even when Shanda was working for her old hospital system, they weren't allowed to have visible tattoos. And then after I think she changed jobs, then that hospital system she left eased up and now they can. And then she couldn't have like, they wouldn't even like let her have anything but like black shoes, which was difficult to find shoes she liked that were all black.
Yeah.
I have the same problem, but that's because I'm a weirdo. But the same thing with like colored hair, like she couldn't have colored hair, anything that wasn't a natural hair color or like somebody naturally could have. And so, I mean, yeah, there's been a lot of that and it is easing and relaxing a lot, which is good.
Yeah. I feel like it's along that whole trend of maybe we should just stop being so concerned with what people look like.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. And because we're getting old and us old people are running things now.
Yeah. I'll be 42 this month.
Yeah. How's that feel?
I'm hoping I'll know all things now. When I hit 42, I'll know all the things.
Okay. Well, let me know how that goes.
Like what, all the secrets of the universe.
Let me know how that goes.
I probably.
I just learned the other day. Sorry to keep this going forever. I just learned the other day that the universe will not expand and shrink. They now think it's going to expand and rip.
That's not terrifying.
But where is the universe, Dustin?
I don't know. We're in it.
But where is the universe? This is the part that I can't ever get my brain around.
So like what part of it's going to rip?
I don't know.
The inky abyss of sorrow. I don't know.
I have no idea. Also, the Milky Way galaxy moves up and down through the universe. Like we're constantly in this like wave. I don't know. And that some of that is why they believe that I wish I could remember with the belt, the part of that. So Pluto's not a planet. It's part of like this ice belt. And it's just like the largest chunk of whatever is floating in this belt. And the up and down motion that the galaxy does is why they believe that the extinctions like keep happening. Because when we hit a certain level in our rotation, shit starts going haywire. But
so, and it's like, and I believe in science, and science fascinates me, but there's certain parts about the theoreticalness of science and like where we're looking into space and we're seeing all that stuff and we're talking about things that we'll never be able to experience or see with our own eyes. Mm-hmm. It's like, are they making it up?
Yeah, no, sometimes. Yeah. So that's how it starts though, isn't it? Like the earth used to be flat.
Right. And there's people now who still think that, which when I found out that was a legitimate movement, I was like, but wait, really? For real?
Neil deGrasse Tyson actually said something about how like science is always true until it's not, basically.
Right.
Because eventually we like learn, we just like know better, do better kind of thing. But yeah.
Well, that's kind of what happened with Pluto was the math was wrong. Like instrumentation, because he was just on Joe Rogan the other day and they were talking about how that's how we continue to find planets until we got to where we are now, because they would triangulate with the telescopes. I'm going to butcher this to death, but
what, you're not an astrophysicist?
I'm not. I don't even play one on TV, but you know, it was like how they triangulate and then they kind of start seeing things in the way they move. And like, you can see like the pull of the other planet. So they can start to see that there's going to be another planet the further out they go.
You're nailing it.
And then, so like when they found Pluto, or they thought it was a planet and they thought it was going to be a planet, but then like, it's basically as technology gets better, that's the reason why Pluto was a planet, then it wasn't a planet.
Yeah.
We're learning, right?
Yeah. And we learned that it's part of it's Kuiper belt, I believe is what it's part of. And it's just like this belt of ice and all sorts of other stuff floating around out there. Yeah.
So I want all like the real cool scientific, like nerdy, like sci-fi stuff to be real. Like we've been watching that show on Hulu called Debris.
Ooh, I've not seen that one yet.
Basic premise of the show is like there's a spaceship that breaks apart and the debris from the spaceship falls to Earth all over, and they're having to go and find each piece, and each piece kind of does something different. So I'll kind of leave it at that. If it's something you want to watch, I don't give any spoilers away, or people might be listening, be mad that I spoil something for them. The basic gist is its spaceship broke apart. It kind of tells you that at the beginning of the show. So
cool.
But it's really neat. But then like some of it's got that, like, because I think it's on NBC, like it's an NBC show, but I watch it on Hulu.
Yeah.
But there's like that pointless drama involved with it too. Sometimes it annoys me. It's like, just give me the science and give me the cool tech stuff, and I don't need the extra stuff. But
yeah, there was a show on ABC that I really liked for the first season, and then it got terrible, and it had to do with like the world ending, and I forget. I mean, this was probably like 20 years ago. It wasn't exactly 20 years ago, and I didn't like it because it had like they started doing the drama stuff. So like the first season was super cool, and then it's like to draw it out, they had to add in all that fluff.
And like all the weird like commercial cuts, since I don't have commercials on it, but it'll like cut out and you're like, you're gonna wait. And I know it's first world problems, I know, but then it clicks back in. I'm like, okay, why did you cut it there? They cut it there to be a dick.
Yes, that's true. Do you ever watch Trafficked on Hulu?
Mm-mm.
Oh, it's so good.
I try to avoid traffic wherever I can.
Well, it's about it's a journalist, Marie. I don't know how to say her last name. Von something, I believe. She goes around and does it. So she originally is known for her work in like opioids. like 10 years ago. And so now she's going around, like the one that I watched most recently, they were showing how they get cocaine, like how cocaine is grown, how it's cut, what they put in it, and then they like bring it across the border. And she's a journalist, like going actually with the crews who do this and how they get it across the border.
Oh, so it's like a documentary style show.
Yes.
Yeah. I think I've heard Joe Rogan talk about it.
It's good.
It's like my own real
really
contact with the outside world is listening to podcasts when I run to the grocery store.
Yeah, I hear you there. It's my form of entertainment though, because that drama shit that you were talking about on ABC, I don't like it. Like there are certain shows that I will watch for their drama type stuff, but I don't know. I don't typically flock to that stuff. I watch documentaries and
I like that. I watch a lot of YouTube. I get a lot I watch stuff like on like I'm a Tesla investor, so I watch stuff on that. I have crypto investments, so I watch stuff on that. And then I watch like some keto stuff because I mean obviously. And then there's other things like guitar stuff because I've always loved guitars. I played guitars for a long time and music in general. But there's not that much cool music stuff on YouTube because of the whole like copyright stuff and everything gets taken down. But
yeah.
What are you gonna do? Well, we hit 2 hours.
Yes, we did.
Do you want to tell people how they can find you? Do you want people looking at your Instagram that you don't know?
I mean, it's not set to private. Yeah. So sure. All the things Abby.
And I'll put it on the screen up here for you too, so people can read it and find it. And I'll put it in the description down below.
Okay. Sounds good.
I really appreciate you being here. It was really awesome catching up with you and talking to you about all the stuff that I didn't know. I knew, like I said in the beginning, I knew you had some journeys going on. I knew you had some complications. I think like all of us, but I didn't know to the extent. And it's really cool that you came on here and you shared that with me and everybody else.
Yeah, for sure. Let's do it again in person though. Like I'm not doing this again until I can sit near you.
I appreciate it. We'll do it.
Okay. Later.
Well, thanks so much.